Good morning. It's 9 a.m. Monday, June 13, 2022. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. First is call to order. First up is review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action to accept claims dated June 13, 2022 in the amount of $338,523.02.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next up is discussion on a Destination Iowa Trail project with Wilton City Administrator Jeff Horn. Is Jeff here?
Doesn't appear to be.
No.
So let's, how about we push that agenda
We'll
to
just
later in
push
the,
that later.
if Jeff is able to make it.
He'll
we'll
be-
talk about it.
It'll be fine. We'll move forward then to update on combined city/county special operations rescue team with Sheriff Quinn Reese. Morning, Quinn.
My cohort is also on his way, so I can push that till a little bit deeper now.
We certainly will. We certainly will. Next up is discussion and possible action to approve renewal of an Iowa retail cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor permit for Stewart Road Truck Stop, DBA Rife Oil Company, 801 North 3rd Street, Burlington, Iowa.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the June 6, 2022 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Jeff, second by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up is correspondence. Jeff, do you have anything?
I didn't write the date down, but we had there was a housing summit, 6/7 housing summit I attended, very well attended. Director Durham and Michael Gould from the state IFA EDA were in town and talked about programs that we might be able to take advantage of, so a good deal. Other correspondence I would have we got from the auditor, we got the post-election audit results, so thank her and the volunteers for a good job there.
Thank you.
And looks like ran a great election. The other thing is I received a letter from Sue Johansson with the League of Women Voters on water quality. I don't know much about this presentation, but I see one of our own, Eric Furness, is gonna be a presenter. So we all should have had an invite to that. Hopefully folks saw it. I think it's gonna be, I don't remember the date, Eric? June 28th in the upstairs meeting room, and this is about a new substance they're testing in the water, and so I plan to attend. Should be an interesting talk, so that's all I had.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Oh, let's see, I basically had the water quality email and the election results. I would just add that from what I gathered from the water quality email, it's a new thing they're testing for. The maximum federal level is what, 70 parts per trillion, and nowhere in Muscatine County was even close to that, so looks like interesting, but it's not about any kind of threat that I understand that's going on in Muscatine County. What I have.
Okay. I had those same two emails is all I really had. Santos?
Yeah, so on the housing summit, just kind of following up a little bit on that, we did have Debbie and Michael show, we also shared a little bit about what was going on in Wilton, some of the housings that they've been able to do, also sharing what was going on in West Liberty in regards to the expansions of new housing additions, also IEDA dollars that we're able to take advantage of in some of the apartments that we were able to get through. So yeah, it was a very, very well attended, and I think we're having some goals for the county to grow in about 2,000 new units. So that could be apartments, it could be homes, it could be. So that's really what the housing council is trying to focus on, and we are going to be looking at. Debbie did talk about some other programs that we're going to be trying to focus on. The other items were, I did have a follow-up email in regards to complaint in Incorporated Montpelier. I forwarded those emails to Eric in regards to some vehicles parked on the roads, and I had the same emails in the water quality as well too. That's all I have.
Okay. Doug?
I had the email
from Sue Johansson about the water quality meeting, and then from our auditor about election results. That's all I got.
Okay. How about committee reports, Doug?
No committees, just Tractorcade started yesterday, and you guys were there, so you know we had a pretty good crowd yesterday. That's all.
Okay. Santos?
No committees.
I had no committees. Nathan?
Ditto.
Jeff?
No, I just will say that the Fair Board appeared to have done a fantastic job with the Tractorcade. In West Liberty, I saw the police out there for shepherding people through it. A lot of vehicles, a lot of people. Pretty neat event, so great job by the Fair Board.
Okay. I think with that, shall we go back to number 4 with a discussion on a Destination Iowa Trail project with Wilton City Administrator Jeff Horn. Good morning.
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 Just-
Just pass one of those out for you. Governor Reynolds took some of the ARPA money.
Could you possibly take the podium,
geez,
please?
Okay, no problem.
You get to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Governor Reynolds is using some of the ARPA money that the state received, the American Recovery Act funds, to fund what's called Destination Iowa, and that's kind of what I passed out, a little bullet point thing on that here. The part I specifically want to talk about is the Outdoor Recreation Fund, $40 million she's put towards that in a possible project that we have here. One of the main things that they listed is they're looking for the fund with that is regional trail connectors. And we have a good one in our regional trail plan along Y-14, which is a divided trail on the road, that'd be on the road there. Our city council talked about this, and we'd certainly be in favor of trying to get this project off the ground. We can get this, we think 40% state funded through this. Also, if we pursue some TAP funds, Transportation Alternative Program, federal dollars for it, and some other grant funds, I think we have a good shot at getting having to put very little local funding into it. But I won't lie and say that there won't be any. So that's what I'm here to talk about today.
Jeff, do you
Yeah.
know on the I see it's like a 60/40.
Yeah,
So can you use TAP as part of that 40? Do you know?
as far as I understand, we can.
Okay.
I haven't heard that we can't use it, so what I'd like to, see if we could, with your, support, our city council, we already talked to them about this, is supportive of this, and certainly willing to do our part up near Wilton, and maybe we talked about down to the Durant turn there on 110th. Being section
So
B.
that the blue line I see
Yeah.
on the map here?
Okay, wonderful.
And then why I'm talking to you is obviously it's a county road, first and foremost, and I just think this would be a really good opportunity for this kind of funding doesn't come along very often through the state, and the governor's made this funding available, so kind of looking for support today, not asking for anything specific money-wise or anything, just support to keep pursuing this and maybe getting some actual, figures together and some things together that we can start to look at.
You're talking about an asphalt shoulder on Y-14, right?
That's exactly right. If you've ever been to Ely and Solon, or in that road in between Ely and Solon, there's a section of that trail that comes out along that road and goes towards Solon, and it would be just like that. It's divided. It's not like a bike lane where there's just a line. There's more like a kind of a rumble strip in between, basically, that separates the trail from
Is that like a
road.
2 foot, 6 foot shoulder? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my
I'm
head.
trying to
how
remember.
far
I've been
it
on
would
that
be.
road by
That one up
between
there's
you.
like 10 foot.
Yeah, I said I've been up on that one. It's a pretty
So
significant,
that's
as
a
I
nice
recall.
little trail running alongside the road where you're
Yeah,
talking about.
and the good thing for us is that it's in this map I gave you. This is the Muscatine County Trails Plan, which was done in 2019, Y-14. So it's in the plan. So we have a planning document which establishes the basis and our local plans for it. So it's not something we just kind of pulled out of thin air, but is a real plan. It would do a lot to enhance, the quality of life. Certainly up where for Wilton and Durant too, and I realize Durant's not in the county mostly, but certainly it would be a big connector to northern Muscatine County.
Yeah.
And all of it up there, and really just enhance our network and our, those quality of life offerings. And some of you that were at the housing summit recall that discussion, that these are big things, and and keep in terms of recruiting and retaining people.
So Jeff, who would kind of gather up and drive this? Is this something that the city of Wilton would be looking to do to kind of organize and move forward with?
I think we would work with you. I guess I would view this as a joint application, and I think we have a better chance for success with the state if we go together on it. And I have talked to Muscatine a little bit about this, talked to Carol a little bit about this, and they're open to having the conversation with us. So I think if the three of us go in, it'd be really pretty powerful application to the state. So I guess, obviously I need to work with Keith and his staff and all that to get, specifications and those types of things.
Yeah, and I think that there, generally speaking, I like divided trails. I don't like them share the road stuff, and I like that. But I also, kind of in keeping with Keith's comments, is, we saw that move towards the trail, towards the south, towards Louisa County, and the big challenge with trails, in my mind, it's like our little trail to nowhere under the bridge on 61 is, if we put these in, what do we establish for maintenance? Who's responsible for it? Who's caring for it? Who's long-term taking care of that? Because we really don't, road funds don't do that. Now, maybe TAP could help with it. I don't know but TAP generally doesn't do any kind of maintenance. That's all new construction, right, Keith?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, so that's really the challenge I think we have to kind of wrestle with long-term too, is some of these, I'm a supporter of trails. I see a lot of activity, people walking, riding and all that, but I think you have to think about how we're gonna maintain them, because you don't want them to get in poor repair either.
I want to make sure I understand this.
Yeah.
We're speaking of between Wilton and Durant, am I correct?
No. Speaking of Y14,
Just the
Taylor,
short stretch?
Taylor.
Just that short stretch then?
No, the long, between basically down to the line where it turns on.
Oh, okay, you're gonna take
From
Taylor.
180th to 110th basically was mainly the county part.
Okay,
I see.
So we have,
I thought we were up
the
on-
good thing about this one is we don't have to have right-of-way acquisition. We have right-of-way already and.
Basically all
such
Taylor.
things. So the main thing is cost of construction, obviously. And then like,
okay.
Supervisor Sorensen said, there is maintenance to it. But I think certainly we're willing to do our part, and certainly a section of it.
No,
The city, our department can work on some of that too, so
concrete.
we're willing to have that discussion and work with the county on that.
So
So,
that Taylor's our road, is it not, Keith? That's completely county road. And we paved that in what, 15? We redid that? 16?
Somewhere around there.
it
That's
was,
relatively new concrete road, right?
that was paved in,
13, I think.
12 or 13,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And so what we're talking about is adding a shoulder, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Or, on there. Do you know if they're talking the east or west side? Do you have any idea?
I don't at this
Okay.
time.
It's probably not that important as I'd look at this, in that regard, just the flow of traffic on there. It's about 7 miles is what that is.
It'd be a real positive for Wilton to have that trail.
It would be, and really for Durant too, both of
Yes.
us, because Durant, 110th right now, I bike quite a bit, and I can tell you that 110th is a very popular biking road because it's low vehicle traffic. Because most people take Old Highway 6 and cars, they don't take that route, so it's a popular biking road, so it would really connect Durant as well as Wilton. But yeah, it'd be a big thing for Wilton for sure, there's no doubt about it, and we're always looking for ways to enhance the quality of life stuff there, and
Yes, you are.
we're doing 11,000 feet of sidewalk this summer. We're gonna be doing some pretty major projects coming up on 5th Street and a couple other places in town, so.
Good.
Moving
Very
forward.
positive.
Okay.
I guess I'm just looking for support today to keep moving it forward. I'm not asking for anything particular funding wise or anything, just to start to get maybe the figures together and the parameters of what a project can be, and we come back and talk more specifics later.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be good. I think it'd be a good step. I think we've had a lot of surveys, even with the city of Muscatine, and a lot of the things that would always come back were always the feedback that people would say, wow, the trails is one of the most amazing things that we've been able to really add on and continue. Even, studies show that where the trails are at, housing, values go up, traffic is more in, businesses get more value from it. So I really think that's a real positive. I think it's just obviously looking at what the cost would be, how do we end up, and I think we've talked about maintenance on some of those is do you start a maintenance budget right away to accumulate, to have that balance? Because I think that's the challenge that the board will have is how do we maintain it? Do we have a floor sweeper? Do we have something, when we have patches in the holes in the road, things
Well,
like that.
and
I think.
we look to Sherry a little bit on that as a county, what funds are we able to do things like that and maintain? Is that conservation? Is it secondary roads? It's really not secondary roads within their, I think this is a long-term question. I think as we start expanding and doing trails and bike trails and things of those nature, where does it belong? Because without ownership, it goes to pot.
I would say you budget somewhere in rural services for that, probably not in the secondary roads department, but
And then it would be generally funded or
no.
general fund, or where would it be
It
funded
would
out
be
of?
funded out of rural services.
And again, then rural services, who all pays the rural services tax? Do city residents pay rural services tax? They do not, right? So therein lies part of the challenge with these type of, from a county, is
Yeah,
that?
and I think there can be discussion on that. I think for now, I think, we are,
Yeah, I
I'm
think it's
interested
good-
in that, but I
good to
think it
put
would
it on the
need to be
table and think
discussed
about it. I think
as
we want-
longer term maintenance, and I think that'd be something that even the city of Wilton may have a
I think
discussion
it's
on.
an ongoing issue for trails. We have to, decide what, do we want to set up a department, do we want it to be a part of a different department, and how do we fund that? Because you can
Yeah.
fund it however you choose, but it's kind of a new thing, so I think we have to decide what makes the most sense.
That's always the issue, is coming up with maintenance funding. Of course. All these, it's relatively easy to get grant funding for different projects, but the end game is the dollars to maintain it and take care of it. That's the end game.
I think you find across the state, there's not one single way people are doing that. I've seen some that are maintained by the county conservation board, some that are not. And it just depends, like the Cedar Valley Nature Trail in Lynn County is shared by the city and Lynn County, and you get up into Buchanan County and that, and it's.
What about like the Neil Smith Trail out by Des Moines? Do you know how that's funded and maintained? Isn't that what it's called? That runs from like Court Avenue all the way up to Saylorville Lake and around in Polk County? A really nice trail, heavily used. It'd be interesting to see how they funded that and how they maintain that.
Yeah, the one that I'm thinking is the High Trestle Trail, which is Madrid and up in that area and across the old railroad crossing across there. That's an extremely popular trail, but brings in thousands of people on the weekends to those towns. So
Yeah.
look at it as a net positive, but just say that, the Wilton we're interested enough that we're willing to do our part in it and work with you on it.
I think
However-
there should be some discussion longer term. I'd like to see if maybe we could ask how those funds, or how some of those other counties are funding that, and then right now, this is just initial discussion. we're
Well,
trying to
Joe,
do.
his comment brings up a interesting thought, because you have the hotel motel tax
Yeah,
that
that's
you
what they
already
use
get.
out
If
of
you get
tourism
those that are
dollars.
major tourism things,
Yeah.
maybe some of that tax can be used for the funding of that as well.
But
because-
those come out of the city, so then you have to have a collaboration with the city.
Not a
So-
county,
so
the
it's not a
city's gotta
county
do that,
tax
yeah.
dollar.
So-
So I mean, I think
Yep.
there's conversations that I have a meeting tomorrow with the trails. I think that would be a good discussion to have with them. And then I could share with them possibly some of this discussion and look at what other options, because I know that's the discussion we've had before is how do we maintain it? I mean, yeah, we want to have it, and I think the value of having it supersedes the maintenance. It's just a matter of how do we budget for it.
Right, that's right, and how much it'll be, I think, getting to the, I think we have to start, the next step would be to drill down into some of that and get some idea of what it costs to construct, what it would cost to maintain, all those questions.
But I think from my perspective, I do, feel that it would be good initial discussion to look at starting some of those conversations with the city and the county and Wilton City as well too.
Yep.
Great.
Good, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Next up is an update on combined city/county special operations response team with Sheriff Quinn Reese. Good morning, Sheriff.
Apologize for having to rearrange schedules, but we had miscommunication on timing, we'll call it. So, I'm gonna let John talk. John Hessling's a sergeant with the Muscatine Police Department. He's also the team lead for the MSOR team, so.
Good morning. Again, sorry for the scheduling mishap. But I am John Hessling, Sergeant with the City of Muscatine. I've been there for almost 12 years, been a part of the tactical team for 9 or so. You lose count when you start having a lot of fun. So, but this is just going to be kind of an overview, a bit of a history of where we've been, not necessarily where we're going, because we're always going to go in the right direction, but a little bit of history of where we've been and how things have kind of gone for us. So MSOR, or the Muscatine Special Operations Response Team, used to be called just Special Response Team. So initially, around late 90s, early 2000s, we were starting to see an increase in violent crime, armed subjects, things of that nature. So we created this team to take care of all these things as you read. So for the most part, high-risk search warrants, right? Things that maybe we don't have the capability to do or the capability to do safely. So we create this team, train people, and are able to handle things in a much more safer fashion. We have the capability to do a lot of things, and we have for a long time. One of the things that we can do, we don't do very often, is dignitary protection. So we usually get attached to some other element that's in town and kind of supplement them for whatever they need. So a lot of years go by, 2018, we began to see a need to combine 2 teams. So the city of Muscatine and the county had 2 separate teams. So we decided to join forces there. Initially, this began with the Muscatine Police Department, County Sheriff's Office, West Liberty, Durant, Louisa County, Cedar County, Tipton, and West Branch. Now we also have officers from Wapello and Wilton PD. So anybody kind of within the region, certified law enforcement officers, you're eligible to apply and get onto the team. So we do service more than just Muscatine County now. We service Louisa County and Cedar County. So we allow any officers from those jurisdictions as well. It's really served some of Louisa County and Cedar County generally didn't have these type of services available to them. We've been doing much more work in Cedar County than we have in the city or the county of Muscatine. So that's been kind of an interesting concept to be able to throw those services in their direction as well. Has been really beneficial. So again, somewhere around 2001, that's when these services were available in this area. So we've got a couple of photos here of when these started. So initially, I'll speak specifically for the PD, we started utilizing a pickup truck. So one of the officers that was involved, we utilized his pickup truck. We had kind of inherited Vietnam era style flak jackets, and that's kind of the start we began with. 2010, the city was able to purchase a van, kind of a delivery type van for transport and command post. We established Tactical Emergency Medics, or TEMS program, with the assistance of Muscatine County Muscatine Fire Department. And initially, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they initially started servicing the Sheriff's Department's team, just due to those officers were reserve deputies. So that's where that began. So the city, this was the archive photo of the vehicle that we began using. I wish that would have been a cooler story. It wasn't nearly that glamorous. Just a junky, clunky delivery
Did you
van.
rebadge it, or did you leave it like that?
If it would have been my choice and I'd have been around then, we would have just left it that way. Kind of undercover vehicle. Not up to me at the time. So there's a lot of evolution with this team. So we began upgrading the old vest with body armor. You can see in that center photo there that carried ceramic plates, able to stop higher caliber rounds. We obtained simunitions. So simunitions is a firearms platform that shoots a paint round. You cannot shoot live rounds through it, so really beneficial. And allows us to use force on force. So instead of just having empty guns and going in and doing the whole pew pew bang, I got you, and then we have an argument of no you didn't, yes I did kind of thing. You actually can reach out and touch somebody with these, and it adds a ton of realism. I got some scars. I won't show them here, but get with me later. We were able to purchase throwable robot, pole camera, chemical munition systems, all things that give us more options. We don't have to stick people inside of these structures anymore necessarily. We can do things from the outside. We can see what's going on inside. Lots of options. We're able to acquire an MRAP, armored vehicle, through a governmental program. That has since been replaced, but it was a great addition to the team at the time. We began a joint training relationship years ago between the city and the county. Again, we had separate teams. We began to see this need to join forces, so we started kind of planting that seed, training together, doing some operations together, and that ultimately led to where we are today. We were able to start affording sending people to the NTOA training. So NTOA is the National Tactical Officers Association. So they are a national group that provide guidance, some standards, where a lot of agencies don't have standards. They just still, they just make sure they're wearing black and their hat's backward kind of thing. But the standards have been really pivotal in continuing to create and continuing to evolve these teams. We began training relationships with area businesses, so we've trained with Kent, GPC, Hahn, H&I, Monsanto, Bayer, whatever you want to call them nowadays. But training with these larger corporations has been really beneficial. They've been generous to donate funds to help us purchase gear, and ultimately some of these are the largest employers in town, so it would stand to reason that they, if we deal with something at a business, this is where we're going to go. So to get familiar with the layout, the processes, things to be aware of, chemicals, things that can explode, different kinds of things like that, very beneficial. So around 2014, that's where we did the first joint operation as a team to arrest a violent wanted felon. 2015-16, we continued to train jointly. We met with the Des Moines County Tactical Response Unit down in the Burlington area. Did a joint training with them, a bit of a competition exercise, so it was kind of nice to reach out to some people, get out of our own backyard, so to speak, and see what other people are doing and develop those relationships, which has paid off to be able to get some more operations under our belt through those agencies. We did another joint exercise together. 2017, we brought the Rescue Task Force model to the area. Did a large joint training exercise at Muscatine High School with a lot of area law enforcement agencies and emergency medical personnel. In 2017, we conducted 8 operations, 2 of them as the city assisted with the sheriff's office, utilizing some chemical agents to end 2 of those. So putting some of those tactics and tools to the test. One was a barricaded gunman who shot somebody and wouldn't respond to negotiations. So that bottom right-hand photo, that is actually city and county personnel in the same photo on this barricaded subject operation, which ended very successfully. 2018, that's when we created the joint team. So that's when MSORT was born. So according to NTOA standards, we are a Tier 2 team. So So it begins with tier one, it's the most manpower intensive. So all the items that the NTOA advises that a SWAT team should be able to do, we can't do as a tier two team. The only thing that we lack are numbers. I believe we have to have somewhere around 23 individuals, whereas a tier two team, we're only required to have 19. We're currently just over, I think it's, I take that back, tier one is 26, we're at 23. I don't know if we'll ever get to 26 individuals that make up that category. I think that we're pretty good where we're at. We've got a lot of agencies that we can rely on. We train and cooperate very well with the state patrol tactical teams. So if we ever need to do something that only a tier one team would be able to do, we could rely on the state to come in and we can do that jointly. But there's really nothing in the service area that we have that we can't handle. When we initially were created, we had 35 members. We were training 132 hours a year for the entry side of things. Snipers were training 96. Negotiations were training 32. That first year, we conducted 4 operations. You see the agencies that requested us. We were able to send 9 people to the NTOA conference that year, and this was the year that we purchased the pole camera. We were able to purchase proper hearing protection and new helmets for the entire team. So these helmets, they're lighter weight. The hearing protection and communication system is all built into the helmet system. So really great upgrade, great evolution. We were able to purchase suppressors for the entire entry team. So this doesn't just benefit us, it benefits anybody that may be present if we have to fire inside of a residence or a business. We've put these to the test. We've been inside of a house firing these as well. I wouldn't recommend doing it without ear protection, but you can. It actually does silence them that much. In 2019, we kind of grew a little bit. We had 37 members. We maintained training hours. We conducted 4 operations. We had a barricaded subject just outside of Nichols, if you're aware of the situation at all. So this lasted 7 hours, and our negotiators actually saved the day here on this situation. They called the subject 132 times, trying to keep that communication established. I gave this presentation last week, and I kind of joked that imagine somebody that you've called several times trying to get their attention or call them back or whatever. About 8 or 10 times, you're probably done, right? I'm moving on. They called this person 132 times. It was exhausting. But that allowed them to wear this guy down. Eventually, he gets kind of tired of this. Between that and drugs that were in his system, we believe, he ends up falling asleep. So we utilize the pole camera in the window to keep an observation on him, see what he's doing, and then we go in and apprehend him. So it was really kind of a full circle operation for us. We provided training for 2 individuals on the team to become explosive breachers. We spent the remainder of that year creating policy. So this wasn't just, we're going to go to this cool training and bring this service back to the city and start blowing up houses. That's not what we do. We were very thoughtful, did a lot of time, made sure that the policy was proper, our procedures are proper before we rolled that out. We were also able to purchase the BAT armored vehicle in 2019. So this was generously provided for by the city of Muscatine, the county, Muscatine County Attorney and Howe Foundation and the Kent Corporation. Again, with a lot of donations, things backing us, we wouldn't be able to do what we do and as safely as we can. 2020, we were down to 29 members. We had a little bit of turnover, some promotions. There was a sheriff that got elected that year, kind of stole away from us. I don't know what that's about. But we still qualified as a Tier 2 team. Even though we were down some people, we were able to increase our training hours on the entry side of things to 152 hours. Snipers and negotiators maintain the same. We've kind of found that currently they don't need additional training hours. We'd like to be able to throw some more at them, but making it meaningful is a bit of our issue. So if we can find meaningful things to get them in there and trained to do, we'll definitely try to get more hours if we can. We conducted 3 operations and provided technical assistance on 3 occasions, so we don't get called out just as an entire team every time. Sometimes we may just need to send an armored vehicle and a robot, or somebody just may need chemical munitions for one reason or the other. So we've got the ability to go as an entire team, or just to send some support to these other area agencies. One of the operations was a request from Burlington and involved multiple agencies, so we went down to Burlington through that relationship we have with Des Moines County. Did a large-scale operation with them. I don't know what's going on down in Burlington, but every handful of years they come up with these really large operations, so everybody gets to come to the table and take a bite. So our operation specifically resulted in 2 arrests. We seized multiple weapons and ammunition. If you know what 40 millimeter rounds are, these guys had 40 millimeter military style rounds. So these are some bad dudes. So it was nice to be able to take that operation off and provide that service down there. Some of our negotiators were able to respond to and kind of deal with a barricaded subject that they stopped the situation from escalating, so they're able to apprehend them without any kind of use of force. We conducted our explosive breaching training for the entire team, bringing the program operational. We were able to purchase a robot. You see in that center photo there with funds that were donated by H&I, Kent Corporation, and the Howe Foundation. So this robot, it's pretty substantial. We can talk through it, we can negotiate through it, it can deliver things. We could open car doors, drag things out of the car doors. We've actually utilized it one of the times where we took an operator in the armored vehicle up to Tipton. Home was under construction, and they were able to take the robot to the basement and basically crane the camera down into the basement and pan around and see the entire basement before anybody ever went down there. So great tool to have. 2021, we saw a bit of an increase, brought on a couple more members. We increased training again to 168 hours, which is where we currently are. We were able to purchase an up-to-date throw phone with some grant funding. So we would have taken delivery of this a little bit earlier, but the State Patrol actually ordered 7 of these units. Kind of got their order in before us. So we're compatible with the state. So if we get somewhere, we got negotiations going, and we need to swap people out, we can swap them out seamlessly with the state negotiators, who we also train with. It's at least once a year. I think it's twice, but I know that we come together and train with them negotiation-wise at least once a year. We purchased some up-to-date sighting systems for the entry and sniper teams, so we can kind of commingle if we need to. They can come in and do entry things if we need to. We do provide some cross-training there. 2021, we also conducted 6 operations, provided technical assistance on the 1. So again, we went down to Burlington, helped out down there. 2011, some of our stats were we made 11 felony arrests, issued 2 felony arrest warrants for subjects. We see some narcotics as well. The big thing I take away from our stats, not necessarily the currency that's seized or the drugs, but how many arrests do we make and how many firearms do we seize, right? We got to get these guns out of people's hands that don't need them. So we seized 9 firearms, and these are the 2 things that at the end of the year, those are the big ticket items. How many people did we arrest based on these operations? How many firearms did we seize? So we're taking quite a few firearms off the street. There was a year. I want to say it was 2016 or 17. We took like 18 firearms off the street based off of thefts. But when people steal firearms, we know that they don't just take them and sell them. They get into the hands of people that don't need to have them. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. We implemented the Sheriff's Office K-9 Nico to the team. Great addition. I'm going to step up front here just for a minute because I'm not certain that I think this is maybe going to skip me to the next page. So I'll play a little video clip. So this is in a business that we've trained in. Bad guys in that this open door right there. So the entry team has got the door open, and we are going to see this dog in action. In slow motion. dog is still on the lead there, and the dog himself is dragging this grown man out of that room, weighed down by the bite suit. If you've ever seen the bite suit, it's pretty substantial. Adds probably a good 40 pounds, if not more. So I think that is it. But the dog has gotten very comfortable with the team, and we've gotten used to working with him. So what are we? We are a multi-jurisdictional collateral duty team. So what collateral duty means is none of us do this full time. You know, we're not Dallas SWAT or anything like that. So we all are deputies or patrol officers, investigators, or whatever, full time, and we kind of do this on the side. We're trained to utilize high-risk police tactics, resolve hostage negotiation situations, sniper incidents. So where does the benefit come in, right? What does the agency benefit? Well, on top of the services, like I said, all of these officers, all these deputies, all these investigators, they have a full-time job that they go do elsewhere, right? So we don't just put these tactics on the floor and go do whatever differently. We take these tactics back. So there are several incidents that have occurred where officers or deputies have solved their own problems, led the way with whoever they had on hand based on the skills that they've honed during these trainings. So that is where I think that we provide the most benefit. Yes, we have these services we provide, but we take that training back, and that actually it's a double investment where these people are really doing great things with this training. You know, a lot of agencies, they still have this mentality that, well, we just have to kind of surround this thing and call in SWAT. These folks don't have to do that. They can take whoever they've got on hand and do really good things with the training that they've gotten. Again, we're a Tier 2 team. We conduct fitness evaluations twice a year, so we do a Cooper standard, which basically is the same standard it takes to get through the law enforcement academy, and then we do a practical test later on in the year that's usually shorter duration, much more intense, but it's very practical. It's with all your gear on, running, jumping, climbing, shooting, all kinds of things. So we really try to take all the training we do and pour it into one event. We qualify twice a year, but instead of the once a year, like most departments do, we hold each other to a 90% accuracy instead of 80%. So we're just trying to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Train numerous times a year. We train in businesses, all kinds of different areas, environments. Again, a lot of our officers and deputies, they take what we have and not only do good things on the street, but we train departments, we train companies, we go to outside agencies and provide training we can, kind of a bit of a professional development piece. We participate in a lot of large-scale scenarios in the schools and companies, businesses, things like that. We train and rehearse, we train and rehearse, we train and rehearse. We don't just train when it's 70 degrees and sunny outside. We train when it's cold, we train when it's wet. One of that center photo with those two target silhouettes, you can't quite see. I was hoping that it would come through a little bit better, but they're soaking wet. I mean, it's been raining, so that particular night we'd gone out, it started raining, we did some training, it quit raining, we took a break. Before our break was over, it started raining again. Well, what do? We went back and we trained some more because things happen 365 days a year, whether it's fair weather or poor weather, it doesn't matter. So we try to train those environments as well. We can do tubular or vehicle assaults. Tubular assaults is just a bus, so a longer confined space. Mobile homes kind of fit that same bill. They operate about the same. We can do residential assaults, commercial assaults. We utilize role players also. So on top of munitions training, sometimes we are our own role players. We found that we bring too many people from the outside in. They don't quite get the context of what we're trying to do, and we end up with these ridiculous scenarios. Some work, some don't, but I like to utilize ourselves as role players because we learn from both sides of it, and we can provide ourselves, an appropriate response or level of force. So what I've got here is a couple more videos, and we'll wrap up. Again, I'll come up front to kind of run the camera. So I'm hoping that you'll see this as a placer. So this is an explosive breaching charge, so you can kind of see, I found that people have an unrealistic expectation of what's gonna happen. So all the walls in this photo aren't just going to disappear, and the house isn't gonna catch on fire. So what we have here is basically, it's a piece of deck cord lined with tape and there's adhesive on the other side, and it's rolled up. So as we get ready to deploy this thing, it gets unrolled. You begin about 6 inches here at the bottom, and then we're gonna go up the hinge side of the door, and then the rest of it goes across the top. So what you'll see, hopefully the video will come through, is that door is gonna,
Maybe grab the lights.
the,
Thank you.
it's gonna basically blast all the wood off of this interior door, and it's gonna go in, it's gonna spin around, and it's gonna get pushed down on the ground. So it's not gonna cartwheel through the room and go out the other side. It's gonna go in, and you'll see it's just about a foot inside the door, laying on the ground. This camera, it's a garbage home camera on a garbage home tripod, so it's not like screwed down to the floor or anything. So, and it's probably 8 to 10 feet away. So you're gonna see what happens to the camera and the door.
Well, that's pretty forceful.
So, camera's still there, you get a little bit of a shake from the pressure, but if you can see, that's about a foot inside, and the hinge side is over here, so it spins the door and pushes it right down on the ground. So, we're able to do this if we need to have, kind of a bit of a surprise and a distraction safely. That's the whole purpose behind this. We've got one more, or two more. So the next one is, this is called a port charge. So this is, what this is gonna do is this is gonna basically punch a hole from one drywall section to the other. So if something were happening inside of this room, we would quietly set this up on the outside. I've been through some debriefs, one in a hotel where they've got a hostage situation in this hotel. They know where the suspect's at, so they prep this. And virtually, as this thing is hanging on the wall, the SWAT officer is crouched down here, ready. It goes off, it gets doused with water, and he stands up and looks through the hole and sees what he needs to see. So again, that camera it's much closer than the one in that upstairs room. It's probably 6 feet away, and it just gets some water, right?
So that's just to keep it from catching fire.
So it actually, it wouldn't cause fire irregardless. The water is actually, the charge actually pushes the water through the drywall. So it kind of tamps it on the back and pushes the water in front of it right through the drywall. You can actually push this through particle board, not necessarily plywood itself, but actual particle board. You can punch that same style of hole. So this is an exterior door. There's 2 videos attached with this. So on the left-hand side, you'll see we'll come up, we'll deploy the device on the hinge side of the door, and then we'll see how it works. These right two should start at the same time, roughly, so you can kind of see what happens on the inside and the outside. Again, this is a bit heavier of a charge than what you saw on the interior door of that first video, but you'll still see that door is not going to come flying through the house. So the team walks up, providing some cover. There's an adhesive, just pull the adhesive off. This was actually our first, this was introduction day, so we would already have that adhesive pulled off, and it would just be stick and go. And we'll back off the porch. Let's see how this works. Alright, so that's the exterior and the interior. Runs really fast. That door might be about 2 feet inside, but it hits that cabinet and spins around, again, not flying through the house. And really the only damage that you've got is a piece of trim that's on the outside of the door. So what this is designed to do is basically defeat the door. Contractor could come in and pull the frame out, stick a new one in, and no one would ever know we were there. So it's the least amount of explosive that we can use to get our desired effect. So again, I show those because sometimes people hear, wow, these people, they have explosive breaching. It's not as detrimental, devastating as people think. It's really surgical. So, there's some contact information for us up there. So you've got John Wolf, Sheriff's Department, would be one of our first contacts through the county. Myself, Tony Keys, can be contacted if you need to. You guys have any questions?
So I guess the question is probably on people's minds these days is, in the event of a school incident, you guys are the ones called in, and you probably don't want to or can't say too much about tactics and whatnot, but what does that look like?
So actually, we kind of have a going joke that everything will be done before the SWAT team ever gets there. So start to finish, by the time we get the call and we get somewhere in a reasonable time frame, we're probably looking at 30 to 45 minutes, right? 30 minutes on a quick response.
30 minutes from call to what? Take
Where we could have people to our staging area and to the incident.
Okay.
So again, I go back to what is the agency benefit is we have people that are on duty that have these skills, that have these tactics, that have this gear that are going to respond there immediately. Okay. I know that there are probably at any given time 4 to 5 officers that are on this team. Any shift that if something happens, they're going to be there immediately. So we've kind of gone away from training that, well, it's going to be the entire team that shows up. When we have our monthly, and we usually do some kind of a school-specific training at least twice a year. Generally, it's even more, but specifically twice a year, where we do train as an entire team. How are we going to respond? But what do we break it down? I call it RTF style, where we'll take 2 officers and, get in there, right? You start screaming at them, get the stress ramped up, and then a minute goes by, you send another 2, right? So that's how we're going to respond. Whoever is there first, they're going in. They're going to make contact with the threat and deal with it. And then we're going to start sending more officers and deputies in behind them to start, triage, providing, getting services in there. So that rescue task force model, that's what we're going to do. At some point in time, we'll consolidate, and the entire team will probably go through and do like a really thorough search of the entire school or business or whatever it is. But that's not going to be our initial response. So anybody can know that. Officer's going to show up, deputy's going to show up, and we're going to start handling business right away.
John, you mentioned 31 total members. Is that about a 50-50 split from Muscatine County, or is that some West Liberty, some Wilton? How's that?
So, I think there are actually 4 or 5 members right now from the city. I'd probably say there's about the same, if not a couple more from the county. And then we've got some members from the Cedar County Sheriff's Office. We've got 2 from Tipton. We've got 3 from Louisa County. Some of the other specifics are escaping me.
That's fine.
But
that's fine, that's good.
actually, as this thing started off, it was very heavy city and sheriff's office, and that's kind of gone away, right? Some of these other agencies are, hey, we want some people. We just brought somebody on from Wilton a couple months ago.
Good.
So yeah, there's a good variety, and I think that's really good for all the agencies, right? We're working together, and we're pushing these tactics and skills out to these other areas.
So when you do your agency simulations and businesses, do you ever focus outside of Muscatine? Like, do you do Wilton, West Liberty?
It's been kind of hard because this is kind of the epicenter of things. We've tried to. I've tasked some people with, hey, let's find some other businesses. We've been to L&M School. We've been to Tipton Community School, West Liberty, and Wilton. So we've been in all the area schools. Businesses, not so much. Generally, a lot of the businesses have occurred around here.
All right, thank you. Good presentation.
So maybe this isn't the right group, but I know the mental health region has done some experimentation with some groups with mental health counselors or people are training, more training, I think, is the important part. Is that, do you have negotiators? Have you had people, or are you in that trainings sector too, like what's it, Frank Graval or whatever his name is, doing that? Are you guys, is this team, would that be this team or would there be others? Maybe?
So, I can answer that. We have a training coming up in September, that's being put on or provided through Community Services. Felicia helped set that up, where we're gonna send all, probably our staff through. And so that will double, the capabilities of the team, having people have gone through that.
Because I think MPD had some counselors on ride-alongs. I know they've done that in some communities and had great success with de-escalating
Yeah, they
things.
still do. I think they're here once a week.
Yeah, lady was just there yesterday, yeah.
Good, okay, thanks.
Our negotiators we have brought in psychologists to provide training to them. We've got somebody on standby if we ever need it, to be able to come in and provide that assistance, kind of work with the subject or give us tools or tactics, you know, how we can steer that conversation to get a successful resolution.
And so I think the $10 million question is, how are all these operations funded?
So the sheriff's office has a line within our budget. The city has a line within their budget. Cedar County and Wisa County both have lines within their budgets that benefit.
A lot of these vehicles are housed over at the new building for the city,
Mhm.
so I mean, it's a joint effort, and I think it's a great effort.
Regarding training manpower, we swap a lot of hours, so it's not that there's just a bunch of overtime being poured out for training. Operations can be a little bit different, but the training it's a lot of adjusted schedules, so.
That qualifies as their work day.
Good, thank you.
And I would be amiss that this is your update that you guys are coming up with. You guys are gonna have an event that's gonna be shared in the public so they can go to this, or?
Yes.
Okay. So that's June 22nd at 1935 Charlie Avenue with 5:30 to 8, $15 plates.
And that'll be an invite.
Okay, well, just making that public.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. Next is items with the administration office. First is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 06132201, suspending the collection of taxes.
So moved.
Maybe, this is all related to the unknown owner parcel.
No,
right?
this
No, this one isn't.
This
Oh,
first one
this
is
is another one,
No,
this is the
this
DHS.
one
one of
isn't.
the ones that qualifies through DHS.
Okay, sorry. So I'll move to approve that.
A motion by Jeff,
Second.
second by Santos. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Motion passes. B is discussion and possible action to approve resolution 06132202, abating interest and additional cost, unknown owner parcels.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
And this resolution actually abates the taxes too. I just need to fix the title, and I'll do that before it is signed, but this one is abating, so that you're handling all the
So it's
unknown
abating
parcels the
okay.
same. Both of them are abating taxes, interest, and additional costs.
Okay.
Okay, so B just needs to be amended with abating taxes and interest then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion as amended.
Yeah, and I'll second as amended.
Motion by Santos, second by Jeff. Again, this is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes there. C is discussion and possible action to approve revised resolution 06132203, abating taxes, interest, and additional costs, unknown owner parcels.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. Again, this is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Next is discussion and possible action to approve an agreement between Eastern Iowa Community College District, Muscatine Community College, and Muscatine County to provide video production services for the period 7/1/2022 through 6/30/2025.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Santos. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion and possible action authorizing the chair to execute the FY 22-23 contract for specialized transportation services with Riverbend Transit in the amount of $7,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Nathan, second by Jeff. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is discussion regarding the process/criteria for allocating the second half of the APRA recovery funds.
Do I take it from that we have received the second payment? Okay.
Yes.
So I know that we talked about what we had already had before, because we had multiple amounts of asks, but I do wanna make I think that there's, the application processes that we did before, I think it would be open, or I would be more open to wanting to continue to have the applications and us review those before we just say, hey, we had a lot of applications last time and let's just go through it again.
Yeah,
I would rather be in favor of having people apply again, we review them, and then we administer what is the best option, knowing that a lot has changed in the last year.
I would think that anything that we did not fund before, we could consider an automatic application, and then we could reach out to the same parties and say, is there other opportunities to fund, just like we did before, and accept them, and then have a discussion about each opportunity.
Yep.
I think that makes the most sense.
One concern I have is not necessarily specific to this, but on the back end, one of the things we're supposed to do is track the effectiveness of our allocation of these funds. Do we have anything in place to track that? I know some of these are,
Isn't that-
allocating money toward housing and whatnot, but how do we know what kind of bang we're getting for our buck on the back end?
Isn't that part of what the next item is? Cause we're basically what he provided for those drafts, that we're gonna have some accountability on.
Right, but I just wanna make sure that that's part of the discussion.
Well, I think as a part of the project and the agreement, there's supposed to be deliverables, right?
Right.
Measurable deliverables that we're agreeing to fund.
Correct, I just wanna make sure that we don't set those and forget them, that we come back and look at them.
Cause I don't know what the reporting requirements, correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, cause you've been looking at that more than I have, that there's any requirement for us to report outcome.
No, other than the percentage of completion of the project.
Yeah. And frankly, I think it's a little slipshod by the way the government's doing it. I'd like to know what kind of bang we're getting for our buck.
We're using lost revenue,
Mhm.
which simplifies the process, because basically it's saying through COVID, we would have had this much revenue, but we didn't, so we can use it for county purposes.
Right.
That we would not in, any other time have to report to somebody, what was the outcome of those county purposes, so,
But in the drafts that Jim raised up, correct me, doesn't it show that we're asking them to show some accountability, that the dollars can only be spent in the county, that,
Absolutely.
we can only reimburse after receipts are already been
Right.
spent, so there's some accountability already.
No, I'm not saying
I
there's
think
not,
it's-
I'm just saying I don't want that to be in a report that gets stuck in a file somewhere and we never see it. I'd like to take a look at that.
Sure, no, we've asked that we are the payer of last resort for these
Yep.
projects. They have to provide us the documentation that they put out whatever money they're asking us to be reimbursed for, so we'll have that documentation just like we would for any other federal program that we manage.
So,
And they are required per the agreement to hang on to any paperwork regarding the project and allow us or any of our representatives, be the state auditors or whoever, to look at that
I think.
for a period of years, so.
Yeah, I think Nathan, maybe what we could do is say, for example, let's just say that we funded, I don't know, the waterfowl or the watershed project. Maybe have a presentation after those funds are distributed and 2 years that have been processed, they come back and give a presentation about how those funds, contributed. Maybe there's some accountability at the bottom of the application that says, hey, how do we come back in and say, the dollars that were provided and funded, what did you allocate them for, and how share us with the county, so then maybe that way that covers that. Maybe
I think so. Yeah, I just want to make sure we.
shares some accountability, but also
Yeah,
it shows what it went to.
I think a few of them, like the clinic, we've allocated for, well, you're gonna,
That's pretty obvious.
Gonna be visible. The housing, I know
but then
in
there's
that initiative, there are significant measurables
Yep.
attached to it with goalposts and timelines, so we should be able to get all that. It's just asking the individual or checking with the group to get that back. I'm trying to remember the others, some of the others were internal projects, that are
I think
pretty
pretty much
easy.
everything we funded is something that is concrete and you can see, yes, here this is.
Yeah.
Our internal projects, well, I guess the jail server system, you can't see that, but we know that's already been, I don't know if it's 100% completed, but that's already been going to separate them off of our system. So if ours goes down, the jail system doesn't go down. That was one of the things we funded. The remodel of the auditor's office, most of these things are things you can see happening.
Can a group or party that has applied previously, can they amend their application? I would think that should be
I
allowed.
should. I think, what I guess that what I'm looking for is have a new application, that way we can add on what Nathan's asking, that they reply or share something of how the funds were allocated in the next 6 months or a year in a budget review.
Because our agreement, the way it's written right now, says whoever it is, if you sign this, you can't, if your project overruns, come back to us for more money based on that first ask.
You
So
can
we
or
would have-
cannot?
You cannot. So if we're gonna allow people to extend, it would probably need to be another application.
I would view
Yeah,
it
that's
as a
what I'm saying.
second
I would
application.
view it
Yeah,
as a
absolutely.
separate application. That's what I was.
And
I
maybe
guess
it's
what
just
I was
an
getting
amendment
at.
of the first one in terms of their paperwork.
I don't know what the amendments would be. I'm just saying if
I don't
somebody.
either.
I'm just saying if
Well-
somebody asked for $50,000 and then another project and there's something different here.
Well, we had three projects kind of at our request that Keith had submitted as an example, that we chose not to fund with this round, but they may be something we would want. I would still want those, and I don't remember, Kurt, did you have any that we didn't fund?
Yeah, we talked
Kurt
about
did. I
that.
would want to have those, I don't necessarily think staff needs to go through the process of
Right.
redoing those. We have the numbers, we have their thoughts, and it was just, we found other priorities. Maybe they make the list
I
this time.
think the only reason why I was thinking of amending them is because I think the value may be different of what those costs may be for material costs.
Well,
or
sure.
things like
Oh.
that. That's
If
what I
they
guess
need
what I
more
was getting
money
at is
now. Right.
amending in my mind. I was thinking, hey, I can't get, certain materials now, the value's gone up 20%. That doesn't mean that he's asking, he's still asking for the same thing, but the costs have gone up. That's the
Well,
only reason why I
I
was
think
looking
what
at
I'm
it
hearing is
perception.
that anybody who submitted an application before that was not approved,
Is welcome to resubmit.
is welcome to,
Yeah.
well, or they can either use what they already submitted, or they can submit something revised if they choose to, and then we'll accept new applications like we.
I just don't want
what we
somebody
did
to miss an
before.
opportunity.
Sure. Do we need to set a time frame?
We did last time, did we not?
We did set a time frame.
So I think the last, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought the last time did pretty well. So we could put the same kind of sunset on the application
What-
process
what
as
was the
last
Our
time.
question was, do you wanna take applications again, and hearing that you do, so we'll work out what that looks like, what that time frame is.
Okay.
and-
Yep.
Perfect.
And the only thing I was asking for is, from what Nathan commented, was at the bottom, do we want to have them share something in how those dollars were utilized? In a presentation, or honestly, I think it would be great in budget. But something that they can share where those dollars were allocated, and it could be 2 years from now, if they're allocated in 2 years, or for example, if you do something in Deep Lakes, this is where it went to. It just shows the accountability for the taxpayers to show where the dollars went. And I think is all I was getting at, and I think that's what Nathan was asking. How do we do that? I think that was just something that we just had a line item at the
In
bottom.
most everything that we funded, I think it'll be readily apparent. The only ones are the question mark, like we gave MPW and
Yeah.
Wilton Telephone Company some funding, and
But
it would be nice to
it would
see
be
the
good to see
impact
where
of
they
those
went,
dollars
because
on
that was
those
part of that
projects.
draft documents that we have to come up to next, that kind of keeps that accountability,
And
making
maybe,
sure that
maybe
when-
the more appropriate place for that language would be in the agreements themselves, as opposed to the application process.
That may be an
Can
option
we
too.
add some language
Yeah.
that basically says at the end of this, you're required to
Yeah.
make, so, we'll come up with language, but you're
Maybe they should
required to
do that
make
up
some
front, but-
presentation.
Yeah.
And, which I don't think that's gonna be an issue for anybody, so.
I wouldn't think,
But I think it does show some value in what those dollars went to.
how they were used,
Yeah,
what for,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
what the value was.
Good call.
I'm good with
It
that.
was your idea.
Well,
Okay.
All right, so then we don't have to vote on this.
So
one, right?
4
So
point, what did, 4.1, 4.3?
4.1.
A little over 4.1.
Yep. So, yeah, so I think we have our direction there.
On both of those?
Yeah,
Alright, is that the only change you want to those agreements?
I think otherwise it worked pretty well.
Yeah, I
think
like
so.
them, I think that was the
Okay.
only, yeah.
I have a question on the agreements. There was just, I think we had agreed that the political subdivision agreement would be the appropriate one to use for the Lower Cedar, since it's a 2080 of individual political subdivisions, but there's a little clause in there that requires certification that it is spent or invested entirely within Muscatine County. Could be a little bit of an issue on a multi-county. I guess, could they just with direction allow us to slightly change that agreement?
That's a good point on that one.
Yeah.
We're looking at funding a coordinator and using it as possible grant match money for specific projects, which all would be easily reportable, how the money's spent.
Yeah.
If, when the coordinator is hired, they the watershed would pay, out of the funds that we have now, request reimbursement, pay period wise or quarterly or whatever, but
Yeah, I think that's probably I think we wanna make sure the benefit goes to Muscatine County and how the dollars, I think we need to think about that.
Well, and Eric and I talked a little bit about, our percentage of the cost of the total. Can we assume that we can estimate if we're covering, I don't know, 50% of the cost, I don't know what that amount is, that 50% of that work is in Muscatine County, that we can, that it's just that simple, that.
Yeah, well, that gets into that whole complicated funding formula we looked at, and that one, at one point, we're like, 42, we were some big percentage, between Cedar and Muscatine, we were big percentage of the benefit of any work on the Cedar. But I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
That Muscatine was.
Muscatine and
You
Cedar.
have those percentages?
well, we have a breakdown of total of acres within the Cedar watershed by political subdivision, population, watershed, percentage.
Yeah.
The overall concept was anything beneficial within the Lower Cedar watershed, whether it's upstream or downstream of us, well, particularly upstream, benefits Muscatine County. Any watershed improvements upstream certainly benefits us.
Right.
So if that percentage of benefit is already calculated, then all we do is apply that. How does that look compared to percentage of funding?
Yeah, I'll have to go look and see what I have, I'll send something to you.
I have those numbers too, I
You have that?
believe, yeah.
I think maybe, I might have shared them to
I
you.
think, yeah.
It was Jen Fenstra did it, I think, out of the Eastern. We were looking at potential
Yep.
funding.
Because my guess is our funding is going to be less than or match into the percentage of benefits, so that.
Well, I think when we
Comment
looked,
about
when we
that.
looked at the whole request, I think our funding was it was all based on that formula of benefit.
Yep.
When Eric and I sat down and talked about, okay, what would be a reasonable ask? I took that percentage and allocated it to the costs that we were seeing and said, that's what we would ask for.
So if we have that and our state auditors or whoever come in later and say, how did you follow this rule? Here's what we did, and I think that would probably be fine.
Yeah,
As
'cause I don't.
opposed to changing the agreement.
Yeah, cause I think, but,
Well, I mean, in that situation, in that watershed, you got water coming in from Cedar, you have water going down into Des Moines, so it affects multiple different That's, I mean,
What
that's-
does the language say? It must be spent in Muscatine or in
For the
or
benefit
for the
of?
benefit of?
So that's what I'm saying, so I
It's
mean,
entirely within Muscatine County. The language in the agreement, doesn't it? I don't have it. in front
I
of
don't have it in front of me either.
I think that would
I
be
think
something, maybe we
Caleb
look at
does.
the clarification.
Yeah, cause yeah, what if you're funding the hospital and they buy some supplies from Davenport? I mean, geez.
Or take patients from the
Right,
cities.
you know, I think
Yeah.
we may wanna look entirely for the benefit of.
yeah, I would look at it from that perspective, so it makes that wording.
In or for the benefit of.
Yeah, because you know you're having,
Or-
Boundaries of Muscatine County.
say that
It
again?
says entirely in the geographical boundaries, or, you know, it should be something for the benefit
And I
of.
think
Yeah, we
that's
may
what-
need to massage that language a little bit.
We
that-
don't wanna say
Yeah,
entirely for
something
the
Jim
benefit, cause if there's an
wanted to
ancillary benefit outside of the county, we'll have problems.
Yeah.
So, Jim could probably
Yep,
He understands
lawyer
what we're
that
trying
us,
to get
lawyer
at.
that up for us pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I think our intent was on that, was making sure that we weren't putting like internet services or
Yeah.
providing things in
We're not
Loiza
building a
County or other
bridge
things, but in
in
this case, this
Illinois.
is different because we got watershed, water, you know, mitigation things that you guys are working on that are coming from the north.
alright, Jim's out of town until the end of the week.
Did we not use some of that for the levy improvement?
Yeah, that's why I
Yes.
told him, I asked
The
him about
levy
that.
improvement would be
Because
another
that'd be
one
the
that
same
we
thing, we'd run into the same thing.
As written, we may have a bit of a challenge with, so we probably should make sure we clean that up.
Yep.
So to the benefit of,
For the
Yep.
benefit of.
alright, that's
Alright,
clear.
we'll work with Jim about getting that changed. It'll probably be 2 weeks because he's out of town this week, so.
Cool, cool.
Are we good on that with
Yep.
that process?
So that covers F and G both?
Yep,
Okay, very good. Anything other from the administration?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Receive information from county employees. Do I have any county employees that wish to address the board?
I want you all to notice, if you haven't already, the new fence that was put in at the back of the parking lot. It looks nice.
It's very nice.
I told Kayla this morning that probably the thing I'm most worried about as you retire is the wonderful job you've done with our buildings and grounds.
Thank you.
Cause they look probably better
The
than
fence
I
is
ever
done.
recall living in Muscatine. Muscatine County's facilities look really good right now, so thank you for the help.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none, receive comment from the public. Do I have anyone from the public that would like to address the board? Seeing no one come forward, it is 10:18 and we are adjourned.